In this video, where I'm going to talk about Ketu and Rahu as one individual entity, and we're going to look at an example chart. All right, everybody, thank you very much for taking the busy time out of your day to watch this video. I appreciate that. If you like the material, then please subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it. And if you want to know more about your Ketu and Rahu, you can go on my website and you can either request a reading from me, or you can even request what I call an astro brief. You can find that on my website, and it's just a brief astrology reading and we can focus directly on your Ketu and Rahu. Now, so let's get into this. So we're going to talk about Ketu and Rahu because what's really important with Ketu and Rahu is the fact that so often we can sit there and look at, I've got Ketu in Pisces, I've got Rahu in Gemini. And a lot of the times we don't even think about that. A lot of the times we'll sit and stare at our chart, or we'll hear something about it, and what we're probably going to be mystified by Rahu, because Rahu represents illusion. So we're always wanting to know, oh, I have Rahu in Cancer. What does that mean? Or I have Rahu in the 6th house. What does that mean? Oh, I have Rahu with Sun. Ooh, what does that mean? And what's really important to understand with the nodes, when we're talking about the nodes, is that they're not really a separate entity. Ketu is not separate from Rahu. They are in separate signs. They're stretched out across the zodiac. And I'm trying to make this video short, so I'm not going to get into the mythology, but to basically summarize the mythology is that they were one being at a time. Rahu and Ketu were one being, and that got beheaded. They were up to some mischief, of course, and got beheaded. And Rahu, and then what we know is Rahu is the head, and what we know of Ketu is the body without a head. And so we can always think about that of Ketu as the body without a head, and Rahu as the head without a body. But they're always one, and it's always important to think of them as one, because whatever Rahu is bringing, whatever illusion, whatever new, foreign, inexperienced area that is terrifying and new, and you're exploring in this lifetime, you can't define Rahu without understanding Ketu and where you were coming from in the past. And very similarly, if you're looking at a chart and you're trying to explain or trying to understand the nature of Ketu, you can't really define what's going on with Ketu in anybody's chart without also describing what's going on with Rahu, because they are one and the same. They're exactly 180 degrees away. They don't vary from that because they're just one axis that turns around the zodiac the entire time, going counterclockwise. Anyhow, very important to understand that. And we can see that so let's go ahead and look at this example chart right here. For whatever reason today, I have decided to pull up Elton John's chart. So this is Elton John's chart, just using an example. You'll see here he has Ketu in Sagittarius in the 5th house, and then Rahu in Gemini in the 11th house. There's many things that we can say about that, right? But what's important to understand is that these two nodes are always, they're one. They're representing one big karmic life lesson. Ketu is wanting to bring completion to this issue of being overly dependent on the energy. And for Elton John, in the past lives, he was overly dependent upon Sagittarius energy and upon 5th house energy. And so what would that mean is that in past lives, Elton John has a lot of experience of being very pointed and focused about what it is that he wants to create in this world. And just knowing that there's just one way he wants to go about using his creative vision. That's one of the definitions of the 5th house. There's many more definitions, but I'm going to go with that because he's a musician, so it kind of makes sense. Now with Rahu in the 11th house, what this would represent is that in this lifetime, it's completely new and completely foreign to him to understand, to look at the myriad of opportunities that are available to him, and then also to use people around him as a and groups of other people and peers, and to help him investigate and learn, and not just have to rely on his own specific creative vision and the direction that it's taken. So this is like he's got to learn how to work with other musicians, and that's one of the things that he's probably had to learn with, is for him to bring out his vision in life. He's had to learn to create, to work with other people, and probably other musicians, because he's just a piano player and a singer. He's probably struggled to be able to bring other people in and allow them to help him with his thing, help him with his music and his goal and his purpose and his vision. And that's kind of an idea of what this can indicate. Now, we're not going to get any further than that, because what I wanted to show you is that it's just one issue. It's about his purpose, because that's what Ketu is. Ketu's that area, like he's really good at that, of handling things on his own. And Rahu over here is not independent of Ketu. It's not an independent entity. It's working to help resolve that, because if by stepping into Rahu, by him allowing other people to help him experiment and find new methods, and to belong to new different organizations and groups as well of peers, and to maybe talk to other piano players, then that's what's going to help him find his purpose, by exploring all the other options that are out there. Because Rahu is basically going to balance out this Ketu karma to bring resolution to it. And that's always so important. It's like we're reattaching the head to the body when we start working with Rahu. And so, anyhow, what I wanted to further illustrate with this is when we look into the deeper Vargas here now, when we look into the Shodamsha Varga, what you're going to start seeing, oh, look at this. You have Ketu and Rahu are in the same sign. You go into the Vimsamsha chart. Oh, Ketu and Rahu are in the same sign. You go into the Chaturvimsamsha or the Siddhamsha chart. You'll see Ketu and Rahu are in the same sign. You go into the Trimsamsha, Ketu and Rahu in the same sign. You go into the Kavedamsha, Ketu and Rahu are in the same sign. You go into Akshavedamsha, which is the D45. I'll just pull that up here real quick. And you'll see, if you go into all these 6 different Vargas, Rahu and Ketu are in the same sign. And if you look in all these same Vargas, what you'll see is the 1st house and the 7th house are together. Because in all of these 6 Vargas, it's like bringing together all the axes and bringing them into one. So why I wanted to show this is because if you look at these 6 Vargas, what you're going to see here is, how do I define Rahu now if Rahu's with Ketu? And that's kind of the idea here. And that's why it's so important to understand, because these Vargas really illustrate the point that I'm making, that Rahu and Ketu really are just one axis. Because in these 6 Vargas, the way that they happen to be calculated through their mathematical computation of the Rashi chart of where the planets are in the sky. That's all the Vargas are. They're just little distillations or calculations to generate these 6 Varga charts. What you're going to see is that all the opposite polarities of the house points, the house cusps, the points of the houses, is all brought to one. And you'll also see that with Ketu and Rahu. They're one axis. So this further supports that idea that Ketu and Rahu are in fact one karmic entity that we're here to learn and experience and to work with. And so whenever you're looking at a chart, or you're talking to somebody, or you hear somebody talking about, you hear another astrologer or me myself do a video about Rahu and Cancer or something like that, realize that if I'm talking about Rahu and Cancer, especially if I'm just talking in the birth chart, then you have to put that in the context of Ketu and Capricorn. Because Rahu and Cancer doesn't mean anything without talking about Ketu and Capricorn. Rahu, if we just talked about Rahu in the 11th house, said, oh yeah, you're just learning to use your friends and you're learning to work with other people. But in what context? In the context of the 5th house, in the context of Sagittarius, That's where Rahu is operating when Rahu is in Gemini and in the 11th house, is within the context of the 5th house. They're never separate. So always remember that when you're trying to understand what does Ketu and Rahu mean in this chart or in my chart or whatever. So anyhow, thank you for watching this video. And if you like what you see in this video, please subscribe to my channel. If you want to know more about your Ketu and Rahu, you can either request an astro brief, which is a brief reading with me, or you can request a full Vedic astrology reading if you go to my website, danceofthecosmos.com. Anyhow, thank you very much, and namaste.